following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on the break!
With Nick Eatman, David Hellman, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Thursday, August 26, 2021, Season 17, Episode number 13. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We're live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We got about 45 minutes here to talk some Cowboys football with you guys. And we've got some news and notes we got to hit. A lot of things that are happening around the team. Great news right now is that we are officially 2 weeks out from the beginning of the NFL season, which the Cowboys will open on Thursday Night Football against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Hopefully, we will all be there, and we'll be able to watch this game in person. What? Why you look like that? As though it's not hopefully. Like last year, you were the only one. Me and Dave had to stay at home. So, yeah, hopefully we all will
I don't
be
like
there.
hearing hopefully,
we're
though.
not even talking like that. We're going.
I know, we're going.
Go.
We're going to be there. But a lot's happening this weekend.
Yeah.
High school football is getting going here in Texas. I don't know about the other states, but in Texas it's getting going this weekend. Got college next weekend, and then Thursday. Following that, the NFL will kick off. Let's start first with the biggest news of at the Star yesterday. Dak Prescott returns to practice in a meaningful way. Tell me, how much did he do, and what did you think of what he did yesterday?
Dak Prescott said, "F your 7-on-7. I want the whole thing."
Let's go.
That caught me by surprise, obviously. Like Mike McCarthy was like, yeah, Dak's going to do 7-on-7. And then he did team. He's like, nah, I'm just going to jump right in.
If I got a pitch count, put it into something
I guess
that
so.
matters.
Yeah, he's like, come on, let me get some real work. And he looked pretty good, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's the best part, is that, how he looked. And also, I guess we don't really know this. Today is the most important part of that.
How do you feel?
How are you feeling today? You got to go back and do it again. Of course, football is a 7-week 7 days, between each games most of the time. So you do have a chance to most of the time you have a chance to get back. That's why pitchers only throw once every 4 days, the starting pitcher. So even if he's feeling a little bit sore, that's not too alarming. I just wonder how he does feel, if there was any setbacks. But he looked great yesterday throwing it.
He looked really good. He was making the throws you got to make to play football. And, it looked like there was good velocity on him. He wasn't throwing Hail Mary balls, but how often do you really do that anyway? So he had a couple 30-yard throws and some nice completions. I think he went 11 of 12 on the day.
Pretty impressive.
I think that what I'm looking forward to, and I know it's 2 weeks away, but when we go to Tampa, I'm looking forward, and it could be a first quarter, it could be second quarter, but there's going to be that moment, that 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, where the best play is when it opens up and he's got to go take off. And you get 14 yards, 12 yards, whatever. You slide, you dive, whatever you do, but you get up and you like it. That's because that's the Dak that's going to help this team win. It's just the threat of being able to run, because then he can throw and do all those things. But he's got to do it. He's going to have to make that first, second time, get up. I'm still a running quarterback. I can still do that. I think once that happens, I think they can take off.
And that's what we were talking about last week. And Blake Jarwin was asked about that as well, because the Houston game was his first preseason game. And they kind of, he caught his first pass over the middle, his first contact since he tore his ACL, and he was like, yeah, it's big to take that hit and, go down to the ground and flip around and all that stuff and get up, and you're like, oh, I still feel fine. I still feel 100%. I'm ready to play football. And, I don't think Dak's rusty, but I would have liked for him to get that out of the way in the preseason. But
it's going to be his Days of Thunder moment, if you've ever seen that movie, where he gets in a big wreck and then he doesn't know if he's got the confidence. He comes back and races again. He's got the smoke. He's got to drive through it.
Is that the one where he thought he was on fire?
That's Ricky Bobby.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's got to drive through it. And I know you can do it. Drive through it. And it's not. It's not the same.
Not
as
the
Days
same
of
movie?
Thunder.
I haven't seen Days of Thunder, but I get what you're saying.
It's the
It's
moment.
the same thing as Ricky Bobby. It's,
Yeah,
same
got to get
thing.
back on the
Talladega
horse.
Nights.
You got to
know?
get back on the horse.
If you're like eating and you're choking, you got to go back and you got to eat again. You got to know that you
We'll
can
tell
do
that
it.
story a little bit later because the fans should hear it, but we'll get to that
Nah.
maybe another show.
We're good.
Another show. Knowing Dak Prescott, I actually think that
Chris.
moment for him is going to be way more. It's going to be way scarier for everybody watching than it will be for him.
Yeah.
I think for him, it's just going to be I'm playing football.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things he's been talking about. Like he is trying to divorce himself from the whole idea of talking about it, thinking about the leg injury, and for him, it's done. It's over. I'm moving forward. So I don't think that will be a consideration for him.
Wow, you just made me realize something. Maybe this was all a genius ploy to get people to stop talking about his ankle.
I thought the
'Cause
same
honestly,
thing too. I was like, that's how you do it. You get another injury.
This is the first time.
Is that where we are?
This is the
This is
first
like-
time we've talked about his ankle in a month.
I know.
So yeah, maybe. I mean, it's not because there's not. Somebody asked us that in the mailbag this week. Is like, could this be gamesmanship on the part of the Cowboys? And I was like, taking your quarterback out of practice for a month is not gamesmanship.
No, not
like
at all.
nobody would do that
doesn't
on
help.
purpose.
It doesn't help you.
But we're not talking about his ankle anymore, so that's nice.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about an IR move for the Cowboys. And it for a lot of people, when you see this on other teams, you think third string running back goes to IR. You think, it's not really a big deal. And I don't know that it's a big deal here, but it certainly is noteworthy because Rico Dowdle is a guy that I think has had a good camp, and I think he's a pretty good player for a third running back and a special teams player. What do you guys think about him now going to IR?
Exactly what you just said. It sucks for him. He's got juice. Like he looks good with the ball in his hands. He's got burst. Made the team as an undrafted rookie, which is always impressive. There was no doubt he was going to make it this year as well. And so it just sucks for him. Yeah, I doubt his role would have been huge. Probably special teams and you don't have to see
him
see him play running back. Yeah. But he deserved to be on this team. He looked really good. It sucks for him. And now I just mainly wonder, do you even carry a third running back? Honestly, I think that's a conversation worth having.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Because you would think about it, like you said, his role would not be playing running back very often unless there were an injury in game. Most times he's just going to be a special teams guy. Do you think you could go into a season with only two running backs on the roster, active roster?
They've done it before. They definitely have during the time that I've been here. At least. And you can always sign and add guys as the season goes along, but the initial 53 at least once has only had two running backs. I think it might have been Jason Garrett's last season. The two most impressive depth running backs on this team are now both on IR because Shewo, I thought, had a great shot to make the team as well. I think Sunday's a big day for Jaquan Hardy and Brendan Knox. Maybe they can show you something. And I'll be honest, Nick, if you saw something, correct me, but I was I was just like, it's Zeke, Tony, and Dowdle. I don't really even care what else happens here. So I haven't been taking a close look at these other running backs.
No, I mean the third running back is like your fifth and sixth receiver, really your sixth receiver. If you're going to keep him, it's because of other things that you can do. So you don't just have to keep a third back. But in this case, Dowdle could show he could do some special teams. Plus, and I'm sure Tony Pollard would get the start if something would happen to Zeke for a game, but he's the guy that most complements what Zeke does. And so if Pollard is going to have this unique role, that could still happen. We've seen it before where guys are the backup on the depth chart, but he might get leapfrogged, and Dowdle could be the guy that does a lot of Zeke things, and you keep Pollard in the same boat. That's why I was like, if Dowdle has a place here. I don't think any other back can do that, though. I don't think Knox. I don't think Jaquan Hardy. He can barely see. So we got to get him out there. And then, it'll be interesting. This game will be interesting, too, for a guy like Nick Rosston. I know we'll talk about him later. As a fullback guy, he's carried the ball. He told me the other day, I've carried it in high school. I think a lot of guys carried it in high school. That doesn't necessarily mean they're ready for the NFL. But he can do a lot of different things with it. So maybe he's got a shot to get on this 53 as a special teams guy / fullback / emergency runner.
Maybe. I just think of it in terms of people love to stress at this time of year about we can't release him or he'll get claimed. All of those guys will, Hardy, Knox, I'll throw in Nick Ralston. most of, if not all, those guys will clear waivers. You put them on your practice squad, and if you add them as you see fit, if something happens to your other two. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they just go with two. Or if they have a third, I could see it being a guy that they claim, because I'm not convinced anybody left on this roster needs to be on it, at least at the start.
All right. Let's go on to final topic of news and notes that we need to get to. Cowboys' COVID list has grown a bit more. Who's now on it? And then we'll talk a little bit about how that might affect them.
Connor Williams and DeMonte Casey. Wow, I kind of blanked there for a sec. Yeah, so it was up to 6, but Israel Mukwamu is back. He practiced yesterday, so that's. And is
that how you say that, McQuarrie?
It is. That's what I've been told.
Wait. Let me just say. We verified that this morning.
You weren't wrong. You weren't wrong.
No, I was wrong. I was pronouncing it incorrectly. Now, I was pronouncing incorrectly because that's what I was given, but I was still pronouncing incorrectly. You guys are right. It's Mukwamu.
The pronunciation sheet actually had the wrong stress.
Yeah, but it's Mukwamu.
It was a little awkward in the middle of the show yesterday. Y'all were talking about the same guy back and forth with two different names.
Right.
I just wish.
And I was dug in. I was not going to change.
The behind the curtain job stuff here, basically 4 people just screaming at each other about what's written on a pronunciation guide yesterday in the office.
Yeah.
It's great.
That's the fun of what we do.
Sure.
Because nobody backs down from an argument.
But if you're his family and they
care.
Well, number one, they're probably like, you guys are both pronouncing it wrong either way. But
true.
I'm guessing. Yeah.
But they're looking at like, hey, if he wasn't a good player, they wouldn't be talking about it. You know.
I think
we didn't know how to say Shewo Olanalua until he really started playing well and had a good chance to make the team. Okay, Dave's like, I knew how to say it.
Well, it's a pet peeve of mine. I think learn the name. It's the guy's name, and the least you can do is learn how to say it. So
you should at least try.
What was the kicker's name?
You should at least try.
What's that?
What was the kicker's name?
Liram Hairelahu.
There you go.
Yeah,
and he was here it was a quick cup of coffee.
Right, that was one where I was like, if he's gonna be here all year, man, I got to get some work. I really got to work.
You didn't even try.
I tried, but I was like, I'm gonna have to keep saying it over and over and over again.
I don't know. Is that on the rundown about Zerline? No, but I mean, just real quick about that Zerline.
Yeah.
He's just by cutting him, the other kicker Zerline will be here. He's going to kick in this game, and he kind of said yesterday that if he can get a few reps, whether it be field goals or extra points, he certainly will take them because he just wants to get kind of ramped up for the season.
Everything right now, when you look at this team, is kind of working out the way they told us, because I was really leery about all this. All the guys that were not playing at the beginning of training camp, and I just was looking at last year. I bought it last year when y'all told me that Lyle was going to be okay and that Tyron was fine. I bought all that last year, and it didn't pan out like that. So I was very leery this year, but it seems like it's all working the way they said.
Mildly shocking how much that they have hit the benchmarks with all of these guys. Everyone that was an injury concern at the start of camp, it's gone exactly according to the plan that they said, which, it feels like that never really happened.
Well, that also tells you how much of a concern it really was. It probably wasn't much of a concern. And let's be honest, there's probably something going on right now to a player that we don't really know much about.
That's a good point.
And
that always is, by the way. All 32 teams.
There's always the case. There's something that somebody's worried about, and that's probably not COVID related. Just some elbow back, something here that you're like, man, we'll see.
Hope that works out. Just kind of keep patching it together and working on it. Hopefully it gets better, but it's not going to probably get better throughout the season.
Well, I didn't like Donovan Wilson leaving with a groin injury. I mean, that's not typically he's back today. I mean, but he kind of jogged off the field, didn't he?
Yeah,
He jogged off to the field to the point because of all the other safeties that are in the COVID protocol. There was some thought that, is that what happened here? Because he did kind of get off the field sort of quickly. So if it is a groin injury and he jogged off the field, it may not be that bad. Maybe.
Yeah. I look at this safety position and I'm like, that's a position where I think they got a little depth right now. I don't know if I can even say that. A little bit?
Not right now.
More than in past years, right?
I mean,
just in general. I'm not going into the season. Not
half the
at
positions
this current
on
moment.
the COVID list.
Yeah, not at this current. I'm saying going into the season.
Yeah.
I actually look at that position. I'm like, surprisingly, I feel okay about safety. Not great, because I don't think they have a great player on safety, but I think they got a lot of players that are solid, right?
Yeah.
And that's better than they've had in quite a while, I think.
Yeah, and because of what's happening now, they should be fine for before the season.
Yeah.
What you don't want to happen is, and it's going to happen, maybe to the Cowboys, other teams, happen to Denver and their quarterbacks. I mean, when the season starts and you're in the middle of the week, and then that happens to this one position where you get wiped out. I mean, it could really affect everything.
Absolutely.
It's unsettling. I mean, the nice thing, the team's 93% vaccinated. Israel was able to come back Wednesday after being put on the list on Monday. So, that's what you hope for in these situations. But, we don't know, you don't fully know the vaccination status of everybody other than the guys who have offered it up. And we don't know the results of these tests. So if you went on the list on Saturday and you're not here by Thursday, my assumption is that you've got symptoms, which is going to put you out for more than a week.
It's about a matter of your body recuperating,
right?
Healing from it. Yeah.
And so, it's not a big deal right now. The season's still 2 weeks away, but it's unsettling to think about it happening during the season.
Do you
Absolutely.
think? Okay, it's 93% based off of what, an 80-man roster right now.
I believe so. They're technically.
I think the number is like 5 or 6.
When they cut to 53, do you think the number will be higher or lower? I bet it's lower.
If I had to guess, I would guess it's gonna be. Wait, the percentage will go.
The percentage will be. I think the
percentage will go lower when they cut to 53.
I think if you at this point, if you're not vaccinated, I'm guessing you're a person that probably feels very secure in your spot on the roster.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say
is the way I would think about it, because if I were a bubble guy, I'd be like, tell me what you want me to do, and anything you tell me to do, I'm going to do it because I just want to be on a team.
Right.
So I would guess, and then these are all assumptions.
It's just
I
assumptions.
would guess that it's probably guys that feel more comfortable being able to stand up and say, you saw Cole Beasley. He's been very outspoken. Sure. He knows that team's not just going to cut him, and if they do, some other team's going to pick him up because he's that good of a player, right? So I think that's what ends up happening in some of these situations.
Do you think it's just kind of weird when you think about that he made that NFL's top 100 list, and no other Cowboy offensive player other than Zach Martin made it?
You know what it is. That list is about, first of all, it's about last season.
Yeah.
So a lot of guys that may not have had great seasons here, they may be better players, but you can't point to anybody on the Cowboys last year, that had a great year. To be able to put them into a category like that. They're better players, I think, but I just think it's all based upon last year. And the Bills had a phenomenal year, especially offensively, and he was a part of that.
Yeah,
Cooper's probably got something to say about that.
Maybe. That's fair.
But I'm not going to stand on the table for anybody on this team after last year.
Right.
But just in general, that list sucks. We don't have to get into it.
I agree. But to go back to what you said about guys that feel good about themselves, probably making it, of the two players that I've heard of that are not vaccinated, they are starting, and they got a role on this team. I can only think of two. I think I'm sure there's more, but I just,
Well, if you do the math, 93% of 80 is 5 guys. Or maybe 6, depending on how you round the decimal. So it can't be too much more than that, I would think.
And you're right. It's got to be guys that, I can't imagine a guy that's a bubble player like that,
If they are, that's just asking to get. That's giving one more reason why it makes sense to just let them go, right?
Yep.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, finally, after about 2 weeks, we're going to get around to a game of I Get Around. I'm going to throw out some names to these guys of players on this team that we don't talk about very much, and get their opinions on where they are, how they're performing, and maybe even their likelihood of making this team. We'll talk about that when we come right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a Cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting Cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/Cowboys.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way. Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys? Jack Black. Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
Back to the break.
All right, you just got 2 more chances to watch the Cowboys at practice here at the Star in Frisco for training camp. That would be Friday, August 27th, Saturday, August 28th, inside the Ford Center at the Star. Admission and parking are free. Visit the Star in Frisco.com for details.
Let's go. Welcome back to the second segment of the Break Live from SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. And we're going to talk a little bit. For those who have been listening throughout training camp, we began training camp with this segment that I called I Get Around. And the point of it is we're going to talk about some players that we don't normally talk about on this show, and just allow our 2 analysts here to give you their thoughts on the player. It could be anything. It could be a great story you have about the player. It could be something you've seen as far as them playing on the field. It could be, I don't know, what you saw in Hard Knocks. Who knows? But whatever it is, you guys are going to give people a little bit of insight on that player and where you think they stand currently on this team. We are going to start with the rookie guard out of Nebraska, Matt Farniok. Dave, go.
With all due respect to him, it's hard to imagine him making the roster. He's a rookie. He's a 7th round pick. He was the last guy they took. He's been doing a lot of work with the reserves. A little bit of center, mostly guard. That just, to me, and the team's always going to try to protect its draft class. And that just screams a guy who is cut on Tuesday and put on the practice squad on Wednesday. To me, he's got that written all over him. And I think he's been good enough that's fair. And I hope when or if that happens, work on some center, because clearly that's been something we've talked about throughout camp, is guys that have that versatility that could be important. So keep working on that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember a couple of weeks ago we were at training camp. Somebody had said to me, it's going to come down to him and Brandon Knight on the roster. And, they're both versatile backups, but I could just see Knight helping you more, being ready to play at guard. Also a guy that started games at tackle. So, I think he's a really good practice squad scout team. Farniok is a really good scout team guy because he can play different positions and he'll learn different positions even better when he's there.
Which the fun thing I love, I hope, we've talked about it before, I hope all these changes they've made for COVID are permanent. Like the bigger practice squad, kind of more relaxed rules about how you can move guys around. When they have 16 practice squad spots if you include the exemption for Isaac. And I would imagine they'll use it because it doesn't cost them anything. So when you think about it, if there's 80 guys here, you can put 68 or 69 guys on that. Like, they only really have to cut like 10 people, really.
After it's all done. Yeah.
I mean, once you include practice squad, like only 10 people have to just leave the building. Yeah. And that's good because it gives you a lot of guys you can keep around and develop.
Yeah, assuming you're not going out on other people's cuts and picking
even
up players.
Even if that'll be 2 or 3 guys.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. We're going to stay on the offensive line. Let's move to the tackle position. You just mentioned him. He is a guard tackle coming out of Indiana, 3rd-year player, Brandon Knight. Nick, tell me what you know about him.
Well, I think that he's played tackle. Obviously, started games the last 2 years. I think he's the bouncer of the team. I just think I just think that's his role. He kind of, I think he's better at guard just because he's not as agile, but he's just a fighter. He's a scrappy guy that can kind of when it's in there and it's muddy and he can kind of do his thing. But it's great to have a versatile backup like that. So if it's me, he's on the team. I mean, I keep him before I keep both of those tackles, Inseki and Steele. I make a decision there, and I go with Knight. Knight will help me at guard. If it gets really bad, if it gets bad enough that both those guys have to play, we've seen it. It's a problem. So might as well go with Knight at tackle if you have to.
I really haven't been. I haven't been thinking a lot about Knight. I don't think he's been fantastic.
No,
definitely not terrible.
Ever.
Yeah,
even at Indiana, I bet he wasn't fantastic.
I think he was all Big Ten at Indiana.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
The different, I think it was honorable mention all Big Ten, but still
close.
He's
fan.
It's the jump. It's a jump, but he could potentially play 4 positions, and there's value.
That's helpful.
That. There's definitely value in that.
All right, let's actually move on to a guy that I think has been handcuffed to him because they both were thrown into duty last year at tackle. You got second-year tackle out of Texas Tech, Terrence Steele. Dave.
I was super encouraged when they started playing him on the left side about halfway through camp. Like, he's done a little bit of both. He's splitting time at those 2 positions, which to me says they're evaluating how well he could be the swing tackle. And what I just want to know, do you keep both of those guys, or is there a chance you only keep one? When I say those guys, I mean him and Ty Inseki. And I think Stephen Jones, he kind of hinted at it on the radio the other day. He brought up Ty Inseki, and just the way he was talking about it made it sound like, yeah, he's going to be on the team, which shouldn't surprise anybody. But I think people are nervous about that, and rightfully so. I just wonder, is it an either-or thing, or do you try to keep both?
Yeah, see, I do believe, and based off what I just said, is I would probably make that decision. But I feel like if it's Inseki, then Brandon Knight's probably out because they're going to keep Terrence Steele. They've developed him. They've worked on him. Somebody even told me a couple of weeks ago, they said, there are people in the room that believe he'll be a starting tackle in 2 or 3 years for this team. That he's going to be that good, and I don't know just yet, but they're
good on them for.
They're not going to let him go.
Yeah,
they're not letting Steele go. They'll
agree.
let Knight go and keep Inseki for right now.
But that's the thing. I don't think personally. You said I wouldn't be surprised. I am kind of surprised by that because I think Ty Inseki has not been good. Like, you watch him during the preseason games. Every preseason game that they've played so far, there have been moments where I've been like, oh, there we go. That was Ty Inseki. That was his work. And it's just I think if you're going to have that, you might as well go with a young guy who you're still developing, who you think maybe in 2 or 3 years is going to be a starter in this league, more so than I would look at an older guy like Ty Inseki, who I don't think he's better than Steele right now.
No, look for a veteran, and I don't know this, I don't have a name, but look for another Ty Inseki type player to be on the waiver wire. And that's one that you could get.
That to me makes a lot more sense.
Old.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense to me. I just don't see why Ty Inseki would be on this team.
I'm not arguing for him, but I doubt. I think 30 of the 32 teams in the league hate their swing tackle situation right now. It's just
that's probably true.
A lot of
maybe
like that. Those
because I
hate it less with Steele.
Didn't we say that about Fleming? Didn't we say that about Cam Irving? Didn't we?
Yeah, but I hate it more with I hate it less with Steele than I do with Inseki. That's my point. Is it's not so much that I think if you got to put in a third tackle, you're okay. I don't think that with any of them. I do think Terrence Steele is a bit better, and I think he's younger, a lot younger, which means he has more development.
Why can't we just have both? ¿Por qué no la dos?
Because I got other positions where I want to go long. I don't know if I want to keep 2 tackles.
Because it all works itself out with the line. You have to kind of figure it out.
Well, let's also remember this. If one of your tackles goes down, I'm not talking about in game. I'm talking about for an extended period of time. I still am a believer that my right guard's about to become my tackle. So for me, he's really my swing tackle.
That's why
I just need that
Knight
one guy.
is important.
Right. I just need that one guy that can jump in games if I lose a tackle. Not necessarily if I lose a tackle for a long period of time.
Let's do some quick math. Okay. So, you have 5 starters: Ty Inseki, Terrence Steele, Brandon Knight, and Connor McGovern.
Okay.
Am I forgetting somebody that I shouldn't be?
That's good. So
and that's only 9. That's not heavy.
That's not heavy. Let's go to Let's go to the game then.
Yeah.
So the question that you just said, if something goes down to one of the tackles, what happens? You have 3 options. You can play Zach Martin over there. You can also throw in Steele or Inseki. If the answer is Inseki, then I mean Steele's inactive.
Yeah, I think in that situation you make whichever of the tackles you feel least good about.
If the answer is Steele, then Nsekhe doesn't need to be on the team.
That's my point.
I know.
Yeah, that's the point I'm making.
And
that's the answer.
Unless you just want the insurance policy that badly,
just let him be inactive.
Just let him be inactive.
Look, he's a Montre Holland guy because Montre Holland was that way. Better to keep inactive on game day, but if you need him for the long haul, then he's there.
My point is, if you get to the point where both your tackles are out again, where you would need both Nsekhe and Steele, you're just as good saying, well, just give me.
Welcome to the draft show.
We did that last year, but you're just as good saying, give me Steele and Knight. Like, Nsekhe's not better than those guys, is my point.
I don't disagree with you, but I don't know. I feel like we're splitting hairs here. It's not a big enough deal that I feel passionately about it.
We probably have spent way more time than we needed to spend on it. It's just a point.
9 offensive linemen is a very normal number of offensive linemen, and it shouldn't keep you from keeping whoever you need to keep somewhere else.
That's where I would say if I'm going to have that 9th instead of having Nsekhe, go find me somebody that's a cast off that I can play center and guard with, because I'm way more concerned about backup center than I am that 4th tackle.
If you can find an improvement on the waiver wire, I'm all about it. Yeah. I think it's easier said than done.
Maybe so. All right, let's move on. Actually, we're going to take our final break. We're going to come back. We got more players we got to go through so we can get around to them. We'll do that when we come right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with United Ag and Turf. Before you can park yourself in front of the game, park yourself in a John Deere and power through your chores. Our Land Run package is a 1025R, 25 horsepower tractor with a loader, rotary cutter, and a box blade for $229 a month. And the price you see is the price you'll pay, no surprises. So don't miss another kickoff.
Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com. Offer ends February 1st, 2021. Restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Now let's get to work.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
New Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. You deserve it.
I do deserve that.
You deserve decadent flavor without sugar. And a day at the beach without sand getting everywhere. And a relaxing bath that your children don't interrupt.
I deserve all that?
It's really just a visual metaphor for Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Everything you want, nothing you don't.
A visual metaphor on the radio. I do deserve that.
Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. The zero you deserve is finally here.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man's Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
Back to the break.
The New Era Sideline Collection has landed in stores so fans can wear the same headwear as the team. Just head to the Pro Shop, your official store of Cowboys Nation, and get the 2021 New Era Draft Cap. Visit your Dallas Cowboys Pro Shop or online at shop.dallascowboys.com.
Hey, Nick, real quick, give everybody what we got coming up here as far as their abilities to watch the team. We've got 2 different opportunities here between tomorrow and Friday. You know those, the times?
I do.
Give that to me.
And I did coming out of the last break. But I guess I didn't throw the times up there at the practice.
I think on Saturday, it's a 10:15.
Maybe you've got it. Saturday, 10:15. That is correct. It's early before the Jerry Jones Classic. The 2 high school teams in the area that'll be going at it at the Star. You can come out to that as well.
Absolutely.
But the practice on Friday got me on that one. What time?
10:15.
So both times.
So both it's 10:15?
Saturday, 10:15 practice.
Yeah. Oh, I was saying Friday.
Friday's 11:15. I'm sorry.
11:15. Got it.
All
so
right.
11:15 on Friday. 10:15 on Saturday. So if you have not had a chance to come and check out your Dallas Cowboys, great opportunity to be able to check them out in a practice setting here at Ford Center at the Star to be able to see them before the season gets here. If you haven't had a chance to do that so far. All right, I get around. Let's get back to it. I'm going to throw these two guys out together because their fortunes may be linked in some ways. Jaron Curse and Darian Thompson, two safeties for the Cowboys. Nick, go.
Well, I mean, Darian Thompson, he's just the guy that we just keep, writing off for some reason, and he's right here in the mix. And, this last 3 or 4 days, both those two guys, what they have in common is that they've been on the field, and that they might be the only safeties that I think have been on the field other than the rookie that we never mentioned, Tyler Coyle.
Who?
Yeah, exactly. So those two guys have helped themselves. They've probably been starters while some of the other guys have been out with either injuries or COVID protocols. So to answer the question, I mean, I think one of them is definitely going to make it. They both might make it because of just where they are right now, and they've got to maybe go long at that position.
I think the back end of the safety depth chart is one of the biggest flies in the ointment if you're trying to put a 53 together. It's just tricky. Darian Thompson, we know that you probably don't want him playing defensive snaps, but he is one of John Fossil's core guys. Loves him. He plays an absurdly high percentage of the snaps, so it's hard to bet against him making the team. At the same time, Jaron Curse is really interesting because he has a highly specialized role. He talked about this in the spring, like, this is probably dramatic. I mean, he's not an all-pro, but he is a tight end eraser. He's a tight end guy. He's huge. He can come down into the slot and handle these
tight
athletic
end eraser.
guys.
Wow.
I mean, that's
I know, I'm just messing with
you. That's what
you,
people call those types of guys, right? I mean, I'm not saying he's
not quite there yet.
I'm not saying he's just going to take a Travis Kelce away.
Kelce and Pitts.
It's not what
we don't
I'm
worry
saying.
about those teams. Like,
But
we're good there. Yeah.
that is what he excels at. He can go in there.
That's a good role to have.
Sure.
He could probably erase an Evan Ingram, who you're going to face twice a year.
Your dime packages, I think you could see a lot of situations where they use a third safety for that very reason.
Yeah.
Dak's only incompletion yesterday was because he got into the throwing lane with his. I don't remember who said it. Somebody at practice yesterday said he looks like a pterodactyl, and I was like, yeah, he does.
About right.
You're right.
He's 6'4", 215, and long.
And I mean, he jumped into the throwing lane and batted the ball down, and he's made plays like that throughout training camp. Like he's not like a ball hawk. Like he's going to make a lot of picks, but he's got the reach to get to the football.
I'm laughing because he wears 32, right?
Yes.
And so a lot of times when I see these guys, my mind just drifts back to another player that wore it. Like, oh, is that so and so? I never do that with Skandrick because they don't even look anywhere close.
Talk about opposites
to the same, right? Yeah. But the one thing that's interesting about Jaron Curse is that he was coming in to do that slot guy, like another backup, but different than Jordan Lewis. But Maurice Kennedy's play at training camp has also kind of affected that. I'm not saying he's certainly not as big, but he's a physical slot corner more than Lewis.
Yeah.
So there's another option in there that I wonder might alter some things because Kennedy, I think, is going to make the team.
It's the DBs give me more anxiety than anyone because I can't figure out how to have less than 7
quarterback
corners.
for me, but
why? What's weird? I mean,
just that your starter hasn't played since October of last year. Neither one of your backups have really ever played a significant game, and definitely haven't won a game.
Yeah. Dak will be fine, and
your third baseman, fourth quarterback, I mean, all that.
We don't practice effed. That whole story. That's my favorite one. So, no, I don't know how you keep it less than.
What was that?
You know that story.
Maybe.
Everybody knows that story. I don't know how you keep less than 7 corners, and I don't know how you keep less than 5 safeties. That's my whole. Which I don't know.
And even at 5, I'm like, there's still probably somebody out there that you kind of have a role for. You kind of want to keep around.
So who are your 5? 5 safeties?
We haven't even talked about Israel Mukuamu, but he factors into all that as well.
That's what makes it interesting.
He's looked promising. He has similar length. I think he can do a lot of the special teams stuff, and that's what I wonder. God, I just want to be allowed in the room for these meetings one day. I don't even want to report on it. I just want to see how it goes because I can just imagine them talking to Fossil and being like, "How many of these guys do you need, man? We gave you CJ, you've got Gifford, you have Dorrance,
Kennedy.
You can't have Darian too." And he's like, "Well, screw you. I want Darian." Like, and they're just fighting, and I don't know how you balance it all.
There's my prediction for the game. My prediction is something. Well, it may not be in the game, but it'll be something in the next, I would say, 4 or 5 days will work itself out at the safety position because there's 6 guys right now that you think have a good chance. Right. Darian Thompson, Curse, Mukwamu, Hooker, Kazee, and Donovan Wilson. Those 6 right there. And 5 is heavy, especially with 7 corners. Mm-hmm. When 7 corners is not changing. Like, that's happening.
I can't imagine it. Yeah, I can't imagine anything else.
Unless, again, like you said, something shakes out.
Something changes there. But there's not that many guys that kind of do both roles, so it's not like you can kind of steal a position.
No, there's not a single hybrid guy on the entire thing.
I mean, Mukwamu's done it in college, but he's not done it here.
Yeah, he hasn't done it in the NFL.
We've never seen him out there with any of those receivers.
So you really are going like, what would 12. You say is a normal number for secondary?
10.
Right. So you're going really
and
heavy.
We've seen the Cowboys go with 9 before.
Yeah.
10 is standard.
But that's where I was also when I was talking about that offensive line. When we were talking about that, I know you guys said overall the number isn't extreme, but if you want to go that deep on secondary, you got to take it from somewhere, right?
Yeah.
2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs. Honestly,
do you need 6 receivers?
The further we get into camp, I'm like,
maybe it's
do
just
you?
5 receivers.
And Malik Turner was having a great camp. It's not his fault that he got hurt, but I'm just like, you can make this.
You realize
this happen without the extra
that was
guy.
a nice to have at training camp, but you got depth at wide receiver without him.
Just remember this about Darian Thompson. If he may not make the 53-man roster initially because he is a guy that is not. He's a vested veteran, so he doesn't necessarily have to clear waivers. They're going to try. They need a couple of roster spots on guys that they need to put on IR to return. He's a guy for that, a candidate to say, hey, you're going to get cut. Stay right here. Maybe
we'll come
give
back
him a little
and get
something, and then boom.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. I do want to talk about the fullback, Nick Rosston. Tell me what you know.
Well, I'm actually doing a story on him right now that's going to air for the pregame show on Countdown to Kickoff. I do.
Awesome.
I mean, they put me on TV.
I was going to say you got a great face for radio, but I didn't know you did television. That's good.
Thank you.
Stuff.
Appreciate that.
You're going to be on NFL Network though, actually, this weekend.
Okay.
Think about that. Wow.
This seems like a Hard Knocks type thing. Like it's so like scripted and like, oh, you're going to be no. Anyways,
that's good.
Okay, Nick Rosston. He calls himself, he's a football player.
All right.
He calls himself a beast, actually. But
sure. Okay.
Right. But if you go to that run, they gave him the run in the second quarter of the game, second quarter, and it was 3rd and 1. They gave him the ball. He didn't get it initially. I mean, he was stopped. He got there. He got to the first down. That's what you need out of your fullback if they're going to give him the ball like that. But he's going to make the team because of. If he makes the team,
I was going to say you're
I was about to say.
I had to stop it.
There we
I
go.
had to stop the way I was saying that. If he makes the team, it'll be because of his plays that he made a nice tackle against Arizona, went down there, and it's all the special teams guys. So it comes down to like he's a linebacker.
All those players, and how are they special teams? All those extra guys you want to keep, right?
When Fossil's looking at his list there, and he's got L2, L4, L5, which I really don't know what all that means. I mean, just knows that's their position. He's thinking the types. Okay, this is my speed guy. This is a safety. Typically, this is a running back, receiver. This is a linebacker, and he's a linebacker in body type.
Yeah.
So, Gifford will be probably there. You don't have a lot of other linebackers that are doing it. Jabril Cox. So that might be a situation of, God, can I keep this many linebackers active? I can't keep Gifford and Cox active. So maybe Rosston's a guy as my third back, a full back, but also my L4 or whatever. So
he may be the kind of guy that you start like that. Again, you're going to have all those guys that you're listed at the back of these depth charts, and then you're going to figure out like which are the best of those that I need to keep. Like which can I use the most in specific situations. So
he's probably going to be a practice squad guy though. That they, and I think all practice squad guys will travel to the games like they have in the past. It might be a situation where if they need him, he comes up, but
Practice squad doesn't mean what it used to mean.
Right.
McCarthy's said it more times than I can count. We needed 77 guys to win the Super Bowl in 2010, and things are going to come up. And the fact that you can move guys as easily as you can now, even on Sunday morning, right? So, I'd be pretty surprised if he made the roster, but he does seem like he's doing the most with his opportunities. He's had a few really nice blocks in both of these last 2 games.
Three things have helped his cause, other than the stuff he's done. Shewa Olanalua as a fullback that got banged up. Now Rico Dowdle is injured, so I'm not saying he's a tailback, but he could maybe do emergency carries if you needed it. And also, Sean McEwen as a tight end that's banged up. He's played that H-back role tight end as well in college too. So it's a lot to throw on his plate. But I'm just saying you need those glue guys like that. He's got a shot.
Rosston could be that guy until McEwen is ready to come back, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you start looking at this team, I don't know that they're going to line up a lot in 21 personnel unless you got Pollard and Zeke on the field.
Yeah.
I think predominantly like they were last year, predominantly 11 personnel. You got 3 wide receivers and 1 running back. Maybe go to 12 if you want to put your 2 tight ends on the field. But I don't know how much of a role there's going to be for somebody like a Nick Rosston, just because I don't know that they're going to want to do that very often.
Every year I hype myself up. Like, there's always a fullback that I love. Like, my LSU guy, J.C. Copeland, was here years ago. It was Jameis Olawale for a couple years. I was super excited about what Shewo brought to the table. Oh, how could I leave out Beef? Keith Smith, I love him. But again, like, we're talking about like 11 plays on the year. Like, it hasn't been something that they've really put an emphasis on in a long time.
Yeah, unless they change what they do offensively, their offensive scheme, strategy. Like, it just doesn't seem like that's a part of what they like to do.
But he's a guy that will play Sunday. This Sunday in preseason against Jacksonville, he'll play a lot in this game, and I mean, there's not many guys that are you would say really playing for a chance to make the team. There's probably, I would say, 10 or so.
I will say this: the running back position now looks a little interesting for this Sunday because those guys probably see raw meat at this point. It's opportunity.
Did you see? It was a really funny exchange in McCarthy's press conference. Babe Laufenberg asked him about. He was asking about his career. He was like, are there any players that you can remember like legitimately playing their way onto the roster in the 4th preseason game? And Mike thought he was talking about right now. He was like, why would I tell you that? Why would I give you the names of the guys that I think could do that? And Babe was like, no, you've been a head coach for 15 years. And he was like, oh my God. And he realized it. And then he started listing off names like Sam Shields, had a couple quarterbacks in Green Bay that he was like, yeah, like this is a legitimate opportunity. Like, guys can change your opinion in this game.
I remember one in Parcells' year 2003. I mean, he did not care for this receiver, Reggie Swinton, who had been here for a couple of years.
Remember Reggie?
And it was the 4th
return guy.
Yeah, it was the 4th game. It was like a right return or middle return. He took the ball, supposed to go to the middle. He just said, screw that. And he just totally went to the left side, went around the corner, went 90 yards for a touchdown, made the team.
There we go.
I mean, how about another guy, actually?
That's right.
How about another guy that I'm actually working on a documentary on?
I thought that's where you were going.
Yeah.
I thought that's where you were going when you first started talking. Jesse Holley, yeah.
Who was just...
I was starting to question myself, like, was that the 4th preseason game? I was like, I'm pretty sure, but okay.
It definitely was. And the ball, actually, he was not the return man. The ball just bounced into his lap, and he turned and ran for a touchdown.
Yeah.
And
we got a good documentary coming out next week about his life story. That story, honestly, of all the stories we've done this preseason, it's the most intriguing story because, once again, and you guys may know this, some of you may not, he is the only player in the history of the NFL that ever got a shot in the NFL because of a reality show. That's what sets it apart from every other story that we tell. And then you go back and talk about his life and some of the challenges he's had getting to where he was. It's just a riveting story. But real quick, before we do end the show, though, I need to let you guys know this evening, we've got our next Deep Blue dropping at 6 p.m. Central Time. It's called War Stories. Nick, you were involved in that project. So why don't you tell everybody what War Stories is and why they need to tune into this one?
Well, it's a collection of stories from the War Room, just like it says. It's about 14 of them that span all the way from the 70s, but mainly here in the last, I would say, 15 to 20 years, when our cameras have really been inside the War Room. You can see these debates that are happening while the Cowboys are on the clock. You've seen, I'll just tell you this. There's Jimmy Johnson calling Emmitt Smith to tell him that they're going to draft him, and there's the Roy Williams exchange where
that story was crazy.
Right, Broadus tells that story amazingly, where they almost lost their pick and they're trying to, the clock's running down on them. There's the Johnny Manziel and Zach Martin debate.
And it's funny because we've heard that story a lot of times from people around the building, but it was cool to see it on camera, and it'll be cool for fans to be able to see that story.
And also in 2016, I think I might have said this when we were at camp one time, but 2016, the fact that there's a trade offer on the table that if the Cowboys would have taken it, they wouldn't have had Dak or Zeke.
Yep.
And it was very close to doing that. So just a lot of things like that. And it was really fun to go down that rabbit hole and actually, see some of these stories.
Yeah, it was very well done. And so you guys will have an opportunity to check that out tonight at 6 p.m. Central Time. We'll run it live across all of our channels. And you can go back later.
David Hellman is in there several times.
Did I make the final cut?
You made a few. Yeah.
Did he? I thought you said you were cutting him.
No, I didn't. And I think you're wearing that. I think
I was wearing a different pullover, but
wait, you put him on camera for a TV appearance and didn't put him in a sport coat?
No.
Jerry Madelon's going to have something to say.
I asked ahead of time.
And he cusses too. He cusses, but it's awesome.
Jerry's going to just have a field day
it's on
with
Zeke,
you guys.
And he said
Jerry is our guy that checks all of their work and makes sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
I am who I am, Jerry. It is what it is.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we appreciate you joining us. We will be back. We'll be back on Monday. We'll tell you what happened, what went right and wrong for the Cowboys. And I think Monday we're going to take some time to start cutting this roster, and then so that we can give our recommendations to the coaching staff before they make their official cuts on Tuesday. Till then, for Nick Eatman, Dave Hellman, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?